And we are back at it again with another live one for all you Biconics and wrestling fans out there on the YouTube land. And welcome. I mean, you might be wondering to yourself, Mikey, you're back for Impact, but you're not alone. And you would be correct in that assumption and in that observation because somehow I managed to convince my NXT co host to try out Impact Wrestling as well. And he's just like, I want in. And I'm like, okay, so your first assignment is going to be to help me review Impact's Emergence pay per view, which aired this past Sunday on August 27, 2023, the same day as AEW's All In Historic pay per view at Wembley Stadium. Will, thank you so much for wanting to do Impact as well, because now all the shows have co-hosts, and I can rub it in all the other guys' faces, be like, see, people do want to review Impact Wrestling. It's not an independent promotion. Nah, I kid. They love Impact. It's just that I'm more vocal about it than they are. But Will, how are you doing, my friend?
I am doing great. Great to be here. Thanks for having me, and I'm super excited about Impact. I I truly love it. I think it's great, and I'm surprised that no one else was already in my position. To be quite honest, because even watching like SmackDown and all those things, I was like, this is pretty good. I mean, it's like up there, I think. So I was kind of surprised when you're like, "Oh, it's just me." I was like, "Really?"
It's funny because this is the second time we've had this type of conversation, because that was the same thing you asked me when you did your first NXT review with me. You're just like, how is it, why is what nobody else wanted to do it? I was like, yeah, NXT and Impact, it was just a me thing for a long time, but now I'm all the shows have co-hosts, and it's not just me by myself. It is so great. So as I mentioned at the top, Will's introduction to Impact Wrestling, I kind of just threw him into the deep end reviewing this Impact Emergence pay per view. But man, Impact Wrestling always does me the favor of putting on some really solid shows. And this one was no exception. We got some fun matches. We got a lot of returns, like in the actual pay per view. We also got a video package of a former knockout coming back to the company. And then we also, it broke that we are going to get a certain international male wrestler from the UK coming to Impact soon. And we'll talk about it in a little bit because news broke yesterday during the actual show of Impact that the next pay per view will feature said wrestler. And I'm just like, take my money now. Take it. Take it. But before we dive into this review, you might be wondering, so what is the team name that is going to be forever now known for this Impact review? Well, I'm glad you asked. So I would like to introduce the debut of Table for Two, Electric Boogaloo, which is going to be our Impact Wrestling team name here. And we're out here rocking the guns and the chesticles and all that stuff. So we're two big, beefy berry bears to a certain extent, talking about Impact Wrestling. So before we get into the review, Will, as your introduction to this pay per view was your first real taste of Impact, what are some of your initial takeaways and thoughts of what you witnessed during Emergence?
Well, first of all, like I said earlier, that I think I honestly, in my heart of hearts, believe that Impact can hold its own against all of these other like mainstream sort of wrestling movements. I mean, because it was pretty. I mean, these guys were pretty darn professional and knew their stuff. Their moves were great. They were all slick, some great characters. Overall, and I have to, and I think you and I were texting when I was watching it. The energy of this event just was incredible. At least I thought it was. I mean, from beginning, from the pre-show all the way to the main event, and with some moments, a couple little moments in the middle that were a little, but not bad, but just sort of okay. Um, I thought this one, like this one is so chaotic. Like Impact in general, it's so chaotic, and I love the chaos. I am a chaos queen, and I love it. And it did not disappoint at all. The women were super strong, which I was very thrilled about. They weren't just eye candy; they were true professionals, true sports folks. Um, and I just overall, my overall impression of Impact is pretty darn amazing. Um, and I mean, there was many times I was telling Mikey prior to us recording, is there were times I didn't take any notes because I got lost in the matches because the talent and the choreography, I'm going to say, because I mean, all of these matches were like were like dances. They were so well done, and I got lost in it. And that to me says something. If you can hold my attention, then you got something. Because I have watched, like SmackDowns and stuff, and I'm sort of like I'm on my phone, sort of playing the game or whatever. Because I'm like, okay, the match is okay, blah blah blah. But in Impact, man, I was like in it. Uh, like I mean, so I love it, and I'm glad that you have allowed me to join you on this journey. Yeah, it was good. It was a good event.
I love it so much. But man, I'm excited to get into this pay per view because Impact always surprises me. And this is coming. So, Emergence is coming off of Slam of. No, wait, I take that back. No, yeah, I was right. Okay.
Yeah, it's
So,
anniversary.
yeah, so Emergence is about this pay-per-view occurs has is occurred, I should say, about a month after Slammiversary, which is one of Impact's big 4 pay-per-views. So their big 4 pay-per-views is Hard to Kill towards the beginning of the year. Then it is Slammiversary, Bound for Glory, and then in between Hard to Kill and Slammiversary would be probably, I would say Rebellion is probably there as the spring one. So yeah, it goes Hard to Kill, Rebellion, Slammiversary, and then Bound for Glory. Like they have one of their big 4 in each. And this is the season in which Slammiversary has come and gone, and now we are entering Emergence. So, Emergence and Victory Road are the 2 pay per views that will take place, which will lead into Bound for Glory in the middle of October. But without further ado, let's just jump into it. And the beautiful thing is that this whole card was a lot of fun, but the kickoff show was just as much fun because we got 2 phenomenal matches, and we're just jumping in. We're just jumping into a hot one right here because literally this pay per view, the pre show opens up with a singles match between Alan Angels and Speedball Mike Bailey. Lord have mercy. I mean, granted that this pay per view takes place in the Rebel Entertainment Complex in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Which shout out to my Canadian folks out there. What is up? Speedball Mike Bailey being a native of Toronto, Ontario, obviously getting the hometown pop. Look, okay, so we're just gonna put this out there. Me and my co-hosts are gonna be ogling all of the wrestlers, so I'm just letting you know this is gonna be the most homoerotic, bisexual, gay review that you have seen on the internet, and we're here for it.
Oh, yes.
Obviously,
Oh, yes.
obviously because of terms of services, we're going to dance around some things we're not supposed to mention. Otherwise, we're gonna get demonetized. But I'm just letting you know, be prepared because we're out here like a water park is about to get crazy and wet and wild. Because, listen, I love me some short kings, Alan Angels. I love you so much, bro. Listen, and the fact that I was just like, you wrestle with one earring on, I was like,
Oh, yeah.
listen.
My first note is Alan Angel. Oh my.
And the beautiful thing is, I was like, I will ogle you with my eyes, and then I will also be treated to a treat because his wrestling is so fantastic. And of course, when you put him up against his opponent in this match, Speedball Mike Bailey, literally. So me and my friend, like we watch Impact sometimes together, and he's just like, that looks like Tom Cruise's cousin. I'm like, yep, he is now Tom Cruise's cousin to me. But Holy shit, Will. Alan Angels versus Speedball Mike Bailey was something that I was excited for. And this match that we got was from beginning to end, it was just full throttle, 180,000%, man.
Hmm. You know, and just so all of our listeners out there know that I'm new to the wrestling, not new to the wrestling universe, because I used to watch it with my dad when I was a kid until my dad passed away. Then I stopped watching it. So Mikey has brought me back into the fold. And so I don't know a lot of these wrestlers. So when they were first started, when this first pre-show started and Hunky Allen Angel appeared, I was just sort of like, oh, hello. I could watch you all day. And then, then Mike Bailey comes in and this match, and I was telling Mikey earlier that I was surprised because I thought, oh, okay, the event has begun. The pay-per-view has begun. And and then all of a sudden at the bottom of the corner it said main event starts in like 9 minutes and 38 seconds. And I was like, wait, what? And I was so surprised that this match was not in the main events. I mean, it was so good. I mean, talk about warming the plate. this and then we'll get to the next one too, but man, they were on fire, these two. I mean, all their moves were stellar and epic, and man, it was so good to. I mean, it got me. It hooked me in fast, and at the end of the thing, that's when I was like, wait, this wasn't part of the main event. I was like, oh my gosh. Well, I was like, that's a bummer because those two guys just like destroyed each other. It was so good. I mean, it was so. This is one of those that I had to like go back to the beginning to take notes because I got into it. I was so they hooked me in fast. And I mean, the only note I had gotten down was Alan Angel, oh my. And then I watched the whole match and then realized I didn't take a single note. So I had to go back and watch it again. It's why it's why it took me so long to watch the pay-per-view because I literally had to like go back to the beginning of a match and watch it again to take notes because it pulled me in. And I think that is what wrestling should be. I mean, it should be to the point where you get sucked in immediately and everything else around you kind of fades away. And this first match to me did that full out.
I listen, Alan. Anytime Alan Angels and Speedball Mike Bailey get into the ring, like separately, they're gonna be amazing because their move sets are great. Alan, both of them fit the cruiserweight like division of just high fast energy, and they bring something different. But my goodness, I knew we were in for a treat, but I didn't know. Obviously, listen, Alan Angels flipping all over the place is just awesome. Speedball Mike Bailey with the like 2-turn tornado kick into the corner. And then to do his finisher, the ultimate weapon is just like the most brutal thing I have ever seen, where he literally top turnbuckle does a flip with knees to the back. And I'm just like, ah.
Yeah. Literally, my last note is Bailey's last move was so brutal. And, I mean, I think Bailey's first two moves were like his first two moves out of the gate were so like bam bam, and he was on fire at the beginning of this match and was just hounding on Alan Angel. I mean, just pounding him to the mat uh, until Alan came back with like those two neck breakers, and he sort of like kind of took the lead there for a little while, and it was just, I mean, it was just back and forth, and they were just like, I mean, that flip off that turnbuckle onto him was like, oh my god, what just happened? It was so, it's one of those moments where you're like, it's coming, the thing's coming at you and it goes into slow motion. That's what it was when I was watching it. It was just like this whoop, 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 slow mo. I was like, oh my god, and I was trying to be quiet because it was late at night. I was like, I got so loud. It was so good, and there were so many close tap out or close calls in this match. I mean, man, they were pinning, kicking out, pinning, kicking out, pinning, kicking out. It was left and right, left and right. I was like, oh my god, who's going to win this match? I didn't know. I mean, these two guys are like so well. They're like so they work so well together, and they're also very evenly, matched, which I was, which is why I was like, I don't know who's going to win.
Man, this and see, one of the things that I love that Impact still does is they put on some pretty stellar pre-show matches because back in the day, as the kids say, you know, a lot of the companies, the pre-show is supposed to be a taste of what the actual pay-per-view is supposed to be. And the pre-show is was originally created to get people to buy the actual pay-per-view, so to speak. But like I said, this match went a good amount of time on the pre-show. Allen and Speedball Mike Bailey went back and forth, and ultimately, Ultimate Weapon for first on for Speedball to get the pin over Allen Angels, and I'm just like, again, I agree with my co-host here. I was like, this could have been on the main card. I would have been okay with it, but you know. So Speedball picks up another victory. I'm interested to see what happens because Mike Bailey has been picking up wins over the last couple weeks of Impact. So very interested to see if he'll enter into the a championship picture again. So this is gonna be fun. Okay, so this
It was,
next,
I want to say it was a good
yep,
fight. It was
yep.
a really good.
I was like,
I
yes,
mean, I can't say it enough. It was a really good fight. Period. It it could have been in the main event and made total sense. I mean, truly, it was that on the level. I can't say enough about this fight. It was so good. This is what you need to hook your people in.
seriously.
Fight like that
To,
every single time.
mm-hmm.
Because I literally, you're right. Seeing that fight, I would have been like, I am paying for this thing right now. I'm like, but that fight should have been in the main. It really should have.
It should have been on the main card, and it was so good.
Absolutely.
And honestly, like those two showed that Impact has some awesome wrestling talent. And then this next match, like again, I'm here for the silliness of everything. So, okay. So this next match, we start off so yes. So this tag team match is between the Good Hands and the team of Joe Hendry and Yuya Uemura, whose tag team name is now as Joya. We will get into that in a little bit. But we start off before the match even begins. The Good Hands are out there and they cut this promo, like typical heel promo. They're just like whatever. And then we get this first. We hear the entrance music, and then we see the video package of like Joe Hendry, Yuya Uemura, and then it shows their names, and then it like cinematically combines their name to the tag team name, and then this is why I love Impact Wrestling because of the silliness. We get the meme of it. It's like, can I get a Joya? I was like, yes, yes, absolutely, yes. Take all my monies. I need a T-shirt like immediately. Like
Seriously.
this is so ridiculous, and I'm here for it.
And then the theme song comes on, and then it's something you cannot get out of your head.
Oh, see, this is yep. This is part of Joe Hendry's character that I love the most. So Joe Hendry, if you don't know, Will, he every feud that he's had so far, he's made a music video just dissing his opponent in like the most cheesiest like pop song ever, and it is so brilliant. And the fact that now him and Yuya Uemura have like a music video to go with their tag team entrance and the dance and everything, I'm like, this is boy band at its finest, and I'm here for it.
I had texted you and I was like, man, Joya. I literally said Joya is way too gay even for me.
Especially with that entrance, can I get a joy?
Oh my god, kill me now! But it was it's fantastic though. It's just one of those like it's like a dad joke, you know. It's like it's so fun, but all you can do is groan at it. And it happened, and then they did the dance, and I was like, oh my god, this is showmanship, 1000%. truly showmanship, and that's what I loved about it. I mean, yeah, it's the corniest dang thing, but my God, one, it is super catchy, and I was humming it all day today, and I was like, get out of my head. And two, the two of them doing their little dance and everything, that to me, that is pure showmanship. And that I think that is also what wrestling is about, is that idea of showmanship. You know, who can be the silliest, the most, you know, the showiest, basically. You know, and there was so much camp in there, and oh, it was fantastic. It was. It
Im-
is as gay and cheesy as it was. It was so fantastic.
That's literally what I put in my notes, and this will be a reoccurring thing for a lot of this. I was just like the homoerotic tension is real in this one. I was like, this was moment number one. I was just like, I'm just thinking in my head, I was like, this is very queer, and I love it.
Oh yeah, it was super gay. I loved it.
And of course, I was just like, all right, this entrance is cool. And I was just like, because usually when we get a fun entrance, usually the match is like, okay, sure, it's fine. I was surprised. I was like, you know what? This tag team match was actually kind of good. I like enjoyed
It
it.
was. I did too. I didn't know what to expect,
Same.
because when Roya came in, I was like, oh, is this? And I thought it was going to be like a cream pie match. You know, it's going to be like just sort of sugar, you know, that sort of thing. You like what I did there, didn't you?
Listen,
But
we warned the audience beforehand when you get the two of us together.
yeah,
So again, we're gonna dance around a lot of stuff.
yeah, we are. But I mean, it actually turned out pretty good. I was like, okay, okay, because now we look back, and I'm gonna come. Again, I'm a kid. I was basically raised 70s, 80s, that type of wrestling. And anytime you had characters that were sort of flamboyant, they were usually the butt of jokes. They were usually always getting their asses kicked. And it was really nice to see a flamboyant team. I'm not saying anyone's gay or anything, but just that flamboyant showmanship, that sort of camp, as we like to call it, the camp of it. And they really held their own. I mean, it was like, I was literally like, I don't know what to expect from this match. I was like, is this going to be, am I going to walk away from this match being like, really, really, that's what you did? Or what? And then it really pleasantly surprised me. I was just like, wow. And good hands. This is why people hate us, is because of people like them. And when they were just ragging on Canada and how America's so great and blah blah blah, and I was like, this is why we can't have nice things. Um, but man, this match turned out so good. And again, I think this match could have been in the main
It
event
could have been part of the main card. So
easily.
so again, because I'm always used to Impact, and I know everyone is gonna bring it in every pay per view. They usually bring it to. So this one, I was just like, I'm so interested to see Will's reactions to all of this. And then we get into one point where we have this flamboyant team, but don't let Joe Hendry's dashing good looks fool you, because that man is so much more stronger than people give him credit for. Because there was a point where he literally has he's holding one of the good hands like for a solid 30 seconds or so before dropping him. I was like, yes, I can't wait to hear what Will has to say, because Joe Hendry is silliness, but that man has power moves and he can hold people, and his strength is crazy.
Yeah, I literally was like, my note is Hendry was so good. And I was like, I did not expect what I got. Like truly. And it's like, because I thought, again, because I didn't know what this match was going to be. I didn't know if this was going to be truly like a joke match, or it was going to be something serious. And it was, man. There was that one point where Hendry just comes in there and just wails on them. Because I think, well, what happened? oh, his partner was, I think they either threw him out of the ring or something, and Henry came flying in there and just took both of the good hands on him, took them both on, and held his own. And yeah, then he like picked him up and held him there, and I was like, and then bam, I was like, okay, all right, I see what kind of match this is going to be now. Okay, and I'm here for it because I was like, good. The foppish characters are not going to be the let's throw them around everywhere. They literally kicked ass, and it was so good to watch. I mean, I was so into it. Again, this is another one. I had to take it back to the beginning and watch it again. There was so much going on in this match. The good hands played good heels. They're totally good heel. They're good bad guys. They are. They played that trope very well. And our good guys in white, you know, which I thought was quite humorous that, Joya was in all white and then the good hands were in all black. I was like, oh, look at that melodrama. And we're rooting for the good guys and booing the bad guys. And it was such a good, again, I'll say it again, it should have been on the main card. It was such a good fight. It was, and this is my opinion, and people may disagree with me, but these first two pre-shows, I think, were better than some of the main card shows. Truly.
Yep.
There's one in particular that we'll get to that I think these two outshined completely.
Yeah, and
And
I think we'll agree on which match that was.
I think we'll do. So yeah, I was blown away by these guys. Totally blown away. All the cheese and showmanship was fantastic, and it just made me happy. It just did. It made me laugh. It made me smile. It made me go ooh. I mean, it gave me everything, which
and,
was wonderful.
and the icing on the cake for this one is the fact that Joya won. Joya were victorious in this tag team match. And I was just like, yes, Joe Hendry, Yuya Uemura. I was just like, please. I'm like,
Mhm.
please give this tag team the tag titles at some point down the road in the next couple months or so, because literally this is what I want.
Man.
It's just like the skills are there, the camp is there. I was just like, literally, this buddy cop tag team is there. And the funny thing is that this was technically their tag team debut. So this is their debut match as a tag team. And they got the whole production of like the entrance and the theme song. I was just like, yes. And I was just like, damn. I was like, between this match and then the one we got before with Alan Angels and Mike Bailey, I was just like, if these two matches did not make you be like, yo, let me buy this pay per view right now, I don't know what will. Because, man,
No,
this is how pre-shows need to be, because they should have matches that are awesome, get you talking and be like, damn, I kind of want to see what the rest of this pay-per-view is going to look like. Let me throw a couple of dollars at it.
yeah, it got me excited. I was like, oh my god, this is pre-show. I can only imagine what the main card events are going to be. I was just like, and I think I was telling you that my energy was just, yeah, let's go, let's get this done, let's do it.
And that's how pay-per-views need to be. Like, you need to
Yeah,
be excited. And even though there was a couple of down moments, which we'll talk about when we get to the main card, I love Impact's pay-per-views because usually their energy carries throughout a lot of this.
uh,
And honestly, and let's just do it. So that was the pre-show. Those two matches were good. And after we get the opening and video packages, like hyping up what tonight's gonna be like, we get the introduction. I will say one more thing about the Joya match. Like, what I love about Impact's crowd is they're 100% behind it. Like, they are invested, they are into it. Like, that's why I love smaller crowds and the smaller crowds that Impact has, because everybody's into it. The audience does not try to take control of what's happening in front of them. They are active participants in this, which I love. And that's why I love Impact, because I was like, as I watch it week from week, I was like, these crowds, hardcore, love their Impact wrestlers, and it's so good. And the whole night, this crowd was really, really good. I was just
yeah.
like, This is so good.
I agree. The intro to the event was epic, I thought. I thought it was very good, very well done. The only issue I had of the intro, the opening, is that whoever does their camera sets really needs to rethink what they do, because they were showing areas of the audience that was like sparse. And I'm like, you don't want to do that. You want to show that you have an audience. And they did. They had an audience. That was what's so great. But the camera kept focusing on these half-empty areas.
Yeah.
Like, no, you want to show the full areas, show like they're packed. Don't
Yeah.
don't point out like, well, look, this has only got 5 people in it. But and it's like, but we know that there are more people there. So I just thought camera work could have been a little bit better. uh showing the audience, because like in theater we're always like, the audience is the other person. You can't ignore your audience. You have to embrace them. And I think that's something that NXT does really well, is they really focus like on their audience. Like their camera might be looking at wrestlers, but really that camera is looking past those wrestlers and looking at that audience response, because that is just as important as what's happening in the ring. And I think Impact needs to work on that a little bit, at least in this pay-per-view.
Right.
The one that you introduced me to, the other program, it was a little better. But you want for a big pay-per-view event, I think you want to focus on your
Hmm.
audience just as much as you do on your
Oh,
wrestlers.
for sure.
That was neat.
And
But the
that
intro was epic.
Oh, for sure. And that's one thing that Impact struggles with, is because they're such a smaller promotion, like they have to work with not the best things. Though I will say that after Emergence happened, like later in the week, it did break news that apparently I think Impact's parent company or something is loving what Impact's doing, because so far this year, including Emergence, Impact has sold out every single pay-per-view that they have thrown on this year. Every single pay-per-view has been sold out. And so the parent company has seen this, and this is why I love a good small time promotion being able to do big things, because now it was reported that Impact is the parent company is looking to give Impact like really big production upgrades to all their
Good.
stuff. I was like, yes, this is what I've been wanting for the last
Good.
2 years since I've been watching Impact. And I'm like, well deserved, because Impact continues to be awesome. And I might be biased because I love Impact, but I I'm just happy because being able to see all this for the last 2 years and then get that notification and that news report, it makes me super excited. And we'll talk about it as we go through the pay per view, because we have a big name wrestler from the UK coming to be a part of the next Impact Wrestling pay per view. And we'll wait until we get there for that one. But main card to start it off after we get the hype video package, and then we get the announcers welcoming everyone. We open up with, I was surprised to see this open the pay per view, but the no disqualification match between Diener and Eric Young. Lord have mercy. I was just like, I love me a good no DQ match. And man, listen, I need all the other promotions to look at out there. I was just like, if you want to do a no DQ match that is still brutal, but you're afraid of bleeding, this is the way to go. Because Lord have mercy, there were so many spots. But really quickly, to give context to this, so again, I love wrestling because the storytelling is wild out here. So Diener is the leader of this cult faction known as Violent by Design, or The Design now. And so their philosophy is that pain is pleasure. We're out here to beat people up. Now, before all this, Eric Young used to be said leader of this faction. And in what can only be described as like Shawshank Redemption, like gone horribly wrong, so Eric Young's contract with Impact Wrestling ended. So he actually went to WWE and was there for a little bit. So they killed off Eric Young's character. So Eric Young's character got arrested, thrown into prison, and Diener literally shanked him and like with a shank. And like they filmed this into like a B grade like student film, and it was ridiculous. And I loved it, but Diener killed Eric Young. Listen, this is like the least craziest thing. Like within the last couple of years of Impact, we have seen people get shot at weddings. Uh, we have the we have people get banished to the undead realm. We have seen demonic entities like possess and take the souls of wrestlers. And like people have been buried alive. Like it's crazy, it's silly, and I love it. But Eric Young's relationship with WWE didn't work out, so now he came back to Impact. So now he's like, I'm not dead, and I'm here to teach you a lesson. And so last couple of weeks, Eric Young's been getting his ass beat by the design, and so now it's just like Diener's like, I'm gonna destroy you, no DQ match, and here we are. Obviously, that backfired, as we'll talk about to this match. But let me just tell you, again, the first thing that Will text me is like, "What the hell? What kind of name is Diener?"
Like, what the hell?
I was like, that sounds like Jim Bob's cousin or something.
They did. Oh my gosh.
It sounds like
This
it sounds like a breakfast special, like with hash brown and egg. Do you want a Diener
some
special?
Diener special. Come on, it's Diener time. Yeah, I mean, this match was weird. It was, and yeah, you're right. It's a weird one to open it with, but it was fun. Uh, yeah, I really don't look at it as the opening match. I look at the other two as the opening matches, and this is just sort of a follow up. But it was good. It was chaotic, which that'll be a reoccurring theme through the night. Uh, Diener was disgusting, and I loved it. And like there was that moment when he licked the steak.
The staple gun. I wrote that in my notes. I was like, that is the most metal thing I have seen in my life.
He was like,
Like at the good job on the cameraman for zooming in on that perfectly. It was just like we got tongue and everything on that staple gun.
Beautiful. It was a wonderful moment. But there was a lot of like Diener talked a lot. He yelled a lot. I mean, was that? And I get it. I know what he was doing, but I mean, because I could follow the character sort of from the little bits that I saw in the little video package. But that whole I'm in control and then bitch slapped, and it was like
It was very on Diener's part. It was very sadistic.
it was. I was just like, what? I don't even understand. How can you hate someone so much? And this match felt personal.
Somebody's hate boner was showing, and I was just like, oh my
Seriously.
gosh.
I was like, yeah, really? I was like, you are chubbed out for some violence. And it was, I mean, it felt personal. I mean, it did. And then, um, Diener had his little henchman.
Yeah, he had Khan in there. I was just like, also, what's up, Khan? How we doing? Hey.
Yeah. I feel, I love, there's a great moment where Eric Young handcuffs him to the
And then the man later hulks out of them and like, bam. I was just like, I literally was like, oh my gosh, what is happening?
I was too. I was like, ooh, ooh.
Now, see, I love when other members who aren't necessarily involved in matches get involved because then we get some fun moments like in
Yeah.
order to counteract the size of Khan, because nothing like because this is a big man, so you're gonna need to figure out something creative to like knock him out. And the fact that Eric Young picks up Diener, puts him in a fireman's carry, and then uses him as a battering ram against Khan was awesome and made me laugh so hard.
Literally hit a bitch with another bitch.
It was crazy. And then on top of that, Eric Young picks up both of them and then hits a Death Valley driver onto the barbed wire board. And then he hits Diener with another one to get the win. I was just like, yes, this is.
Yeah, I was too. I was like,
listen, Eric Young is a true professional. This man has been wrestling for the longest time, and the fact that he can still go like this and just the amount. Listen, Dieter, I don't want to say is easy to pick up because that's another grown man there, but picking up Khan with so much like it made it look effortless. I was just like, Eric Young is awesome.
I agree. Picking up one, okay. Picking up them both, and it looked like you did nothing. I was like, what is going? He was like, this has got to be pure adrenaline that he's running on, and it's like that adrenaline kick, you know. But it was good. Oh my gosh! But can we talk about the implements that they brought into this ring?
All the weapons that we got.
The what was the first ones were like platters, like metal platters, and
Yeah, like
trash can.
trash can and like cookie sheets. Like listen, it escalated really quick. I was like, yeah,
Oh, it did.
that's par for the course. We got cookie lids, we got trays, and then I was like, okay, now we're getting ropes. And now there's
Yep.
trash can. I was like, oh, now the chains are coming out. What do you mean there's a ladder? Oh my gosh, is that a staple gun?
Yeah, that a staple gun. Yeah. Oh my god.
I
My
was
favorite moment.
so
Oh, go
great.
ahead. No, no,
No, go for it because I was just agreeing with you.
no. Now, my favorite wrestling moment was the double pickup and slam down. That was fantastic. Like I was just like on the board of barbed wire, which was like, what? Where did a board of barbed wire come? Oh, okay. All right. Why not? Why not a board with, rabid badgers on it or something? I don't know. But my favorite moment, and I sent you this message, and there's this great moment. I think it's Eric Young is going up the ladder to jump down. I think is on Diener. And the ref goes and like holds the ladder. And I was like, oh, safety first.
No, I love it so much, and like this was funny enough because this was a conversation that happened on the internet, with the wrestling community a couple months ago because people were complaining. They're like, "Why is the ref holding the ladder so nobody dies?" Like, obviously, we want people to do crazy stuff, but we don't want people to die on television. We don't need another like heart situation.
Absolutely. Because I'm very much like absolutely safety first. But I thought the irony of it was hilarious that this is a no disqualification, all, no holds barred, hitting each other with like, platters and trash can lids and then barbed wire on boards, but the ref's going to hold the ladder. Like, oh, here. I just was like, that is my favorite moment. My favorite non wrestling moment
Right.
in this whole match. He just literally just walked over there. He's like, here, I'll hold that for you.
What I also love too is that when the refs get involved like that, the audience is so cheering for them too. They're like, yeah. I was like, yes.
It was just so funny.
It's
I just
so
loved it.
good. I
It
loved
was
it.
such a good.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I've seen like crazier and better no DQ matches, but this one served its purpose. But I don't think we're done with this feud quite yet. I was like, I need this. So, Impact Wrestling has like their ultimate no DQ crazy match as I want to see these two either in a Full Metal Mayhem, which is like tables, ladders, and chairs, and anything goes, or you put these two in a Monsters Ball. Monsters Ball is my favorite because that's where the real violence happens. That's where we get blood and like thumbtacks. Now, obviously, they don't really do this, but a Monsters Ball match is like the stipulation is like in storytelling purposes, the contestants get locked in a dark room with no sound and no nothing for 24 hours and then they come out to battle. So like the point of a Monsters Ball is like they're digging deep into like the darker sides because they're running on like no sleep or whatever, and it gets very violent, and I love me the Monster Balls matches. So I think this feud is going to continue. I would love to see a Full Metal Mayhem or a Monsters Ball match between these two because if honestly, this was a great taste. I thought this was fun, but if they can step it up a notch, I'm all here for violence and gratuity. I'm weird that way. Like I love professional wrestling. I love the technicality, but I also love when a bitch gets thrown through a table and bleeds.
Yeah, me too. Oh, absolutely. It's not a real match until there's blood on the mat. I mean, truly. I mean, it's one of the I come from that era. That's 80s wrestling, man. Like those guys were always bloodied. And it was literally, it's like it wasn't a good match unless somebody was either carried out or they were bloodied. I mean, truly. And yeah, I agree with you though. I think this feud just got hotter,
Yes.
honestly.
I'm excited to see where this feud goes, but Eric Young picks up the win, and this was a fun start to the main card. Okay, so
Yep.
at this point, while we were watching this, this is the first moment where Will's like, this match is chaotic for all the right reasons. So
Yep.
after the no DQ match, the next one we have is the Fatal 4-Way for the Impact Knockouts World Tag Team Championships. And this, as I was telling my Will off camera, I was just like, this was the match for women's wrestler because we had all shades, all body types. It was great. So before we even get to the match itself, let's just talk about the entrances for these teams. So, first up, we have the Shantaraj, which is Giselle Shaw and Savannah Evans being accompanied, which I love seeing. I love a male valet instead of a female valet. So, the male valet and Jay Vidal was there. Shout out to Giselle Shaw. She has become one of my favorites. She is also a member of the LGBTQIA plus community as an openly trans woman wrestler. So yes, we love to see that. It's great. Savannah Evans has improved so much. I love this tag team. Jay Vidal being like your very sassy gay bestie in this is also really great.
You know, one of the beautiful things about that is I had no idea,
Mm-hmm.
which I love. I love that I love that they don't point anything like that out. It's like she is who she is, and she's freaking amazing. And it's there's no like, oh look, it's our one of our first openly trans. They don't point it out, which because I don't think that's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because I literally did not know that until I went and did research, and I was like, wait, what? I was like, wow, I had no clue. No clue at all. And that's amazing. So good on you, girl. Good on you.
I love her. I love their entrance too. And of course, her moniker of the quintessential diva. I was like, yes, girl. Get it. I
Yep.
love it. It was so good. Okay. So this next team has probably my favorite women's tag team theme song ever. So we get Jessica and Courtney Rush, the team that make up the Death Dolls. I was like, yes.
God.
I love their
I
entrance
love
music.
them. I freaking love the Death Dolls.
Their song goes hard.
Probably my favorite. Probably my favorite women's duo from this evening. I mean, they were fun and fierce.
They are so funny too. They're so
They
funny.
are. They're great. I mean, there's like in the match, and we'll get to but there's that one little moment where the dark-haired one,
Mhm.
dark-haired one, like,
Probably
steps into the ring.
Probably Courtney, yeah.
Yeah.
So, because like the smaller one is Courtney, and then my queen, who's down with the thickness, Jessica. I love her.
Oh, yeah. So it was Courtney who stepped into the ring at the beginning of the thing, and then she was all like, I think it was I think it was Giselle.
Uh-huh.
I believe that was in there with her, and she was all like, oh, no. She went and tagged. It was so funny.
I love those small moments, but yeah, the Death Dolls have probably my favorite entrance music for the women's tag team. Is so great. So the next, okay, so this was interesting because I don't know if she's really injured, but at first we were supposed to get the entrance for the Coven, which is the team of Kylan King, which we'll talk about her because I think she was one of Will's favorites in this match. And the Coven is Kylan King and Taylor Wilde, but we got a little video package prior to this. Like Taylor got hurt, and so replacing Taylor Wilde was Jody Threat, who is also native to Canada, of course. I love Jody Threat, man. She is a firecracker, and she works that very stiff style that I love a lot in my women's wrestler and just wrestling in general. But so this was the team that was the Can They Coexist tag team of Kylan King and Jody Threat, but I loved it so much. I love Kylan King is a badass. Like she is so talented. Jody Threat's look is always on point with me. Like I love her style. Like this tag team was something I didn't know I wanted until I saw it during this match, and I kind of got it. And then again, this is where I kind of got hot and bothered a little bit. Tell me, I don't care what nobody says. You can't look at the entrance for MK Ultra, the team of Masha Slamovich and Killer Kelly. I was like, this is Team Kinky, and I'm here for it. Like literally in the video like the video entrance, they're like licking chains and everything. And I was like, oh, and then there's a moment where they look like they were about to kiss. I'm like, let's be honest.
Here we go.
Listen, I love it, but Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich, your Knockouts Tag Team Champions, going into this match trying to defend their titles against three other teams. And of course, because it's a fatal four way, the champions don't necessarily need to be pinned to lose the titles in this match. This match was wild. This match was wild.
Real quick, before we get into the match, let's talk about that little video thing that we got backstage of her getting hurt or whatever it is.
Right.
I have to make a comment on this because this is just me because I find these little things. But in that, when they're, there's the security guards are there and they're all like, blah 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 blah. The long-haired blonde security guy, he had one job and he committed to it. He was the most committed human being to what he was supposed to be doing in that whole little cutaway scene. He was so in it. He was like, and the whole time I just kept watching him. I was like, what is he? He is like, I'm security guard. It's like,
I love
your security.
I love the commitments. Like a lot of the backstage hands and the security guards, as we call them, they like all wrestling promotions usually get local wrestlers to when the show's in town to be a part of it. But I love the commitment from this. I was like, this is great. This listen, even like the one-off appearances from these local talent wrestlers, like you got to make the most of your television time, and that was a thing of beauty.
It was so much fun. So anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean, let's go back. Let's get to the match because the match was.
This match was wild. Okay. So like literally this match was a match of two tales. Like the first half, we got a couple of quick tags and then a near fall where Giselle almost pins Killer Kelly.
Yeah.
And then Savannah Evans tags in and they're going after Kelly. And then just they slug it out. Killer Kelly hits like her move, the Lawbreaker. It starts off as a regular match. And then as soon as Masha Slamovich gets into the ring, all hell breaks loose.
Oh my God, did it ever? I was just like, shit. Because at first it was very like by the book, like by the book tag, wrestle, tag, wrestle, tag. And, signature move, generic move. And then Slamovich comes into that ring and throws the book out the window.
Homegirl just clears house. And then from there, everyone and their mother hits every single move that they possibly can because it gets wild. Listen, one of the other things I really, really love is just hearing Masha just curse people out and like yell at them in Russian. Like that shit is funny to me. She's like, I was like, yes, Masha, you yell at them. But man, as soon as Masha gets in, it's a wrap, and then everything like goes nuts. So like she hits a Saito suplex, and then Giselle, Shaw, and Jody Threat go at it. Courtney tries to use that as a distraction, but is unsuccessful in rolling up Masha. And Savannah Evans hits a beautiful Samoan drop, but before Jessica then just goes, bam, headbutts her. I was like, yes! Yes. I kid you not, while I was watching this, I was also in a predicament where I couldn't yell too loudly, but I was literally, listen, I am a bisexual male, but I was giving the finger, like the gay finger snap. I was like, yes!
Yeah. In it, bitch. Oh yeah, I was there for it. It was so great because it just kind of came out of nowhere. It was like boom, 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 turn, headbutt. I was like, yeah.
Okay. And then it just keeps getting wild from here because then Giselle connects with a spinning kick to Kylan King. And then Giselle rolls to the outside after she gets hit by a Death Valley driver.
Yeah.
And then, the finishing sequence, man, just the wrong place at the wrong time. Killer Kelly and Masha, like, they see Courtney and they're just like legal women. So they connect. That double knee strike was so vicious. And then to go into the Death Valley driver too to pick up the win, I was just like,
that
yes.
Ending was perfection. It was like I literally sat there when it was over with my mouth hanging out. I was just like,
and I will say, like, all that was great. every woman did something amazing. And then, of course, I forgot, like in the first half of the match, we kind of started to change the pace a little bit before Masha got in. Kylan King, she tags in and she literally chokes bombs like Killer Kelly into the corner. I was just like, yes, this is what I want to see. Kylan King is out here kicking ass.
Yeah, that Kelly and Kylan, that
That
man,
spot was
it was
great.
awesome. It was so good. These, you know, every one of these women were fantastic. This is a match that could have gone to anybody. I mean, truly, because yeah, you had some like crazy bitches out there, yeah, and but they all held their own. I mean, honestly, and one of the really great things is that each of them got a hit off, which is so great. Because because sometimes you have that many people in a ring, somebody's going to get left out. They're going to be the butt of all the hits, or they don't get a hit off. But everybody got some. It was so great to watch that. I mean, these women were just, man, they were in it for blood. I mean, they really were. And you're right, Samovich, man, she went berserk, and I loved every minute of it. She's the one that came in and flipped everybody's bitch switches,
Yep.
and
Because they knew.
because once, yeah, oh yeah, they
Because
knew. They're like, oh shit,
Masha is that girl. So now, within the last couple months, she has lost, I think, like 2 or 3 matches. But prior to this, like I think from when she debuted, all the way up until I want to say April. Like she went into April like since her debut, like 7 or 8 months ago. She's been undefeated. Like
oh
so,
wow,
and what I love is that even though she's lost a couple matches since then, the commentators and the rest of the women in character know, be like, yeah, she may have lost like 2 or 3 matches, but we know that Masha is the real deal, and we know that we got to do something to keep her down. Because again, MK Ultra's thing is like they're very sadistic. They love the pain, and they're going to give it back to you tenfold too. And I'm just like, I'm here for it. This match ruled. This match ruled. I loved it.
it was amazing. It was probably it's probably close to my favorite. Close to my favorite. It ranked up there. It was my favorite up to this point. And then later on there's another match that's coming that just I just got pulled in. This
It's
one
so
was
good.
amazing.
This one
It
was
was
awesome.
so good. It was
I had to,
so good.
yeah, I had to pause it for a little bit. I was like, I gotta calm down. Like this was nuts. I was like crazy. And then okay, so then we kind of had to talk about this next match. Unfortunately, not it wasn't the worst thing I watched, but I was just like, so we here at the Biconics have a term for when there's one match on the card where we know it's not the greatest. Like nobody asked for this. We're like scratching our heads as to why this got booked. So we call this match usually the pee break match, which is you go to the bathroom, you make a sandwich, you check some like this is the match where you kind of just put on the background. And what sucks is because I like Kenny King as the champion, but for the this match was for the Impact Digital Media Championship between Kenny King taking on challenger Johnny Swinger. I'm like, Lord have mercy. I'm like, Johnny Swinger out here, 25 plus year career. Like, was like, and his whole gimmick is he's like a wrestler of a bygone era. Like, you could totally tell from his outfit and everything. I mean, this was the match I knew. I was like, yeah, Kenny is definitely winning here. There's no way that he's losing this title to Johnny Swinger. And the story leading to this has kind of been silly, but I'm here for it. But even then, I was just like, why? Is that Johnny had to win, I think, like a certain amount of matches, and then he could challenge for anything because management was just like, Johnny, we're tired of you always coming to the office. So here's the stipulation. And then he did said stipulations, and he decided to go out to the Impact Digital Media Championship. Oh, Johnny Swinger, I love you, but yeah, this was all right. It was okay.
This is my let's all go to the lobby match. All right, let's all go to the lobby. It was it wasn't very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it was bad, but it wasn't very impressive. It literally felt sort of stuffed in. Like it almost felt like, oh crap, we have this. You two, y'all fight is it because it really kind of felt that way because we just came out of the that amazing women's fight. I mean, like you're like on cloud nine after that fight, and then you bring us into this one, which, and I'll be honest up front, it took me out. It took me out of the everything.
Yeah, because I
It was
was
so high, and then I was just like, oh,
the first four matches from the two on the pre-show to the first two we got of the card, like that momentum was going strong. And then this one, honestly, if it wasn't for everything that happened afterwards in the rest of the pay-per-view, like this match, again, this inherently and like on paper, there's nothing inherently wrong with this match. It wasn't messy. It wasn't
no,
like gross. It was just it is what it was. But man, if what happened after this match for everything else
yeah.
we got on the card didn't happen, this really could have
This
like been a big speed bump along the way. It's like,
it was, it was two dimensional. That's what I'll say. It was two dimensional. It wasn't a lot of depth to it.
mm-hmm.
They were both good fighters, but there was no depth. It was literally, it's like let's just put two fighters in the ring and let them just fight something,
Mm-hmm.
and it just felt so flat. I mean, if you look at what came before it and what comes after it, I mean, it is like you went from a color, Technicolor to black and white, literally, to Technicolor again. And it was just like, yeah, if I did not know what was coming after this would have been the end for me. Because I was like, oh wow, that kind of blew it. And it did. I literally, after that fight, I had to like pause it and just be like,
Wow.
I'm like, man, that brought me down. It literally brought me down.
Now, yeah, what I will say is the one thing that I actually did like about this match is, well, not the match itself, but the fact of it seems that now we know who Kenny's next opponent in the feud is going to be for this title because towards the end of this, while you know the ref is busy throwing out Kenny King's like friend Jean out of the match, Heath comes out of nowhere and like lays out King with his finisher behind the ref's back, but somehow Kenny recovers and hits the royal flush on Johnny to win. So I'm like, okay, I'm actually more excited for Kenny versus Heath because at least I know that feud is going to be something good. And of course, I love me some Heath, especially him and his very southern twangy accent is so good. I love Heath so much. It's so good. But the winner of this match and still your Impact Digital Media champion is Kenny King. So this match was again nothing inherently wrong, but like I like what you said. There was no real depth to this, and I was like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So then, once we came back from this, then you know, then it picked up again. Okay, so like the women's match was great. Everything was great. The digital media championship was okay. This one was tough because this and the match that comes later in the card, I had a hard time picking as my favorites. But this next match is for the Impact World Tag Team Championships. It is the challengers, the Rascals, which is the team of Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz, taking on the champions. And I just love saying this name because it's so British punk, but taking on the champions Subculture, which is the team of Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster, being accompanied by Danny Luna, my British boys. I love Subculture so much. They were a part of NXT UK. And then when it shut down, I was wondering what happened to them. And now to see them on Impact is, oh, I love it so much. This match was so much fun and it was so good. I was like, this is why I love tag team wrestling. And, this is why I was like, Vincent Kennedy McMahon of WWE, You cannot sit there and tell me that nobody cares about tag team wrestling, because this was an example of how good tag team wrestling can be.
Absolutely. This one was good. Yeah, I was like, coming off of that King and Swinger match, I was already kind of in the dumps. And then this one fight, the intros were good, and I was like, okay, this looks like it could be good. And then the Rascals came out, and I was like, okay, they look, kind of, like young punks, and they're gonna cause some trouble. And then we got into the match, and I was like, oh, and then my blood started pumping again, and I think I believe I feel that this match got really good closer to the end. It
Mm-hmm.
was good at the beginning, but man, when we got closer to the end of this match, man, it
They were
became
pulling out all the stops, and then we had a run in from another tag team. Now, so fun fact, so Zachary Wentz of the Rascals, so the one with longer hair between him and Trey. So the one with the longer hair, fun fact, that is Wes Lee's old tag team partner, because him and Wes were a tag team in NXT before he got let go. So Wes, Zach, and Trey were all on Impact like years before Wes and Zachary went to NXT, and they were a three-man faction of the known as the Rascals. So fun fact, so Wesley was a part of this faction. Now he's thriving in NXT, and now these two are killing it in Impact. But you're right. The first half of the match was like, I love me some good standard tag team wrestling, but then once we got when Zachary and Trey went in for the that kick and curb stomp combo, and then go for the hot fire flame, but then Andrews gets the knees up. Then that's when that match like switched into high gear, because I was like, oh, the switch has been, because then we get a tag in. People are getting pulled off the apron. There's people diving out of rings. There's like a rolling like diamond cutter that happens. Um, you know, then we get shenanigans with the spray paint. And then we see, the team of ABC run down. So, like, Chris Bay and Ace Austin run down. And then the Good Hands make a reappearance. And then they start fighting. Danny Luna gets involved as she dives on top of everybody. And it's, oh my gosh. And everything got chaotic, and I was here for it. But
literally,
it's so
I
good.
put the good hands got what they deserve.
Exactly.
They got their asses handed to them, which was fantastic. But yeah, it was God. It got really good there towards the end, like really good. It was good at the beginning, but man, when it kicked into overdrive, it was like, and then they had everybody else came in.
I love Danny Luna just jumping on all the guys. It's like, no. Psh. Danny Luna is so good. I love her so much. But this finishing maneuver, though, too, with, Zachary and Miguel finally getting the control of the match, and they hit this really weird, like, cool fireman's carry into a stomp combo, and they won. And your winners and new Impact Tag Team Champions are the Rascals. And I was not expecting the titles to change hands here. I was just like, Subculture has barely had them for like 2 months now, and I'm just like, that's crazy.
I was kind of like, and I won't lie, I was kind of at the beginning of this match hoping that the Rascals would win. I really like the Rascals.
They are such a good heel tag team. I love them so much. They're literally like punks. If you put them in a wrestling tag team, they're literally just like punks.
Oh yeah, and I don't normally favor the heel, but man, I really like these two guys.
The charisma is through the charts with them.
Yeah. And that may be what it is. They may have just like wooed me with their high charisma. It was just like, wow. I mean, and I was like, they won, and I was like, yeah, this is who I wanted to win.
Right. So, a couple of things. I'm very interested to see what happens with Subculture now if we get a rematch down the line, and I would be here for a rematch if they give us what we got tonight. But and now Impact's really good of teasing things, but giving it to us at the right time. My big feud that I definitely want to see, and you'll be in. The more you get to see of this tag team division, the more you'll love it, Will. But the Rascals versus ABC is the match I want to see so badly because all four of these guys are just nonstop high flying. Like I'm up one up you all the time. Like I want it so badly. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I agree.
this
Absolutely.
this match was great. I loved it so much.
Oh, I did too. And, and I wasn't sure what to expect again from this one. And I was very pleasantly surprised I mean, it was such, because coming into this, I don't know these teams. So, except for what Mikey's told me about them. So I don't really have any preconceived notions of them. So I was looking at them both and I was like, oh, okay, but yeah, they're both very talented groups. They were equally, I think, matched. But man, the Rascals just won me, man, with their yeah, just that charisma they've got. They won me over, and so I was really kind of rooting for them in this match, and then they won, and I was like, yes, my guys won. It's so funny. Now I've got my guys. It's like my guys won.
But that's the power of good wrestling. Like and
I agree.
that's why I love professional wrestling because I'm the same way. Because like you get behind these characters and the wrestlers that are wrestling for you so much, and it's
Oh
just
yeah,
like
you get
no,
invested real easy.
and I was just like, I don't care. I was just like, professional wrestling is my sports for me. Like, cause how a lot of people get behind like certain athletes and things like that. I'm like, professional wrestling is the same thing. There's the people I like, the people I want to boo, but I have a great time regardless, and I'm here for it. But this was an awesome match.
It was.
So
It was so good.
it was so good. This next one I saw a lot of people be very divisive on, but I like when Impact tries something new. And honestly, this was probably the perfect length for it because we've had this match already like 3 or 4 times on the different pay per views the last couple months. So, in what has been dubbed as the back to school match, we have Frankie Kazarian taking on Eddie Edwards. This is like a edited 4.5, 5 minute like match that was edited. And one thing I did appreciate, I actually liked this match in the sense that, the grittiness of them actually wrestling in like an actual wrestling ring, like where people go to train and everything. And the story behind this is actually fun that Frankie and Eddie are students of Killer Kowalski, who has a big wrestling school. I forgot where it is, but the two students coming to blows in this match. You have Frankie in traditional wrestling gear, and then Eddie just pops up into shorts and a t-shirt, like being super disrespectful to the sport and to the school. And I was just like, yes, be a dick heel. I love it. And this just is what it is. So like they're wrestling and all this stuff. This is a very short match because then towards the end, Eddie's wife Alicia shows up, starts yelling at Frankie because last week she got hit with the kendo stick by accident. But the fact that a man hit a woman with the kendo stick is still, I was just like, I don't see that often. Listen, man on women, women on men violence doesn't usually happen a lot in the modern wrestling thing, but when it does, it's a thing of glory. But that's enough for Eddie to connect with the backpack stunner. And then Alicia keeps screaming. And, Eddie then attacks him from behind to get the pin. And then as Eddie gets up, he screams that they're done. So I was like, okay, this was fine. And then we get like a post credit scene afterwards, which had me more interested. And then it leads to what the announcement we got over social media of a certain match happening at the 1,000th episode of Impact in, I think, a week or two. So Frankie is recovering at the match. Alicia still comes in and she hits him with a kendo stick. It's like, bam. I was like, ooh, that was a stiff shot. And then I love this. Eddie screams at Frankie at this point, you're a disappointment. And then just goes for the ultimate dick move. And like, because we have a beautiful framed picture of Killer Kowalski. So Eddie smashes the picture over Frankie's head and leaves. And that's where we end the match. I was just like, this is art. It's so stupid, but I love it.
No, I liked it too. Actually, I was like, I my very first note is like, love a good rivalry story. It's like, you have the good student and you have the student who thinks is better than. It's very like old trope.
Mm-hmm.
But the student who thinks he's better than the teacher, and then the student who's very much like the teacher's always the teacher. We just learn from them, and then eventually we become them, and blah 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 blah. And so I was really liking this. I love this whole thing, and I will not lie, I wanted him to hit her back so bad. And from a wrestling standpoint, it's like, I mean, why wouldn't you? Hit her with a filing cabinet or something. I don't know. Um, but this was a great, and I'm going to approach this from an acting standpoint, from the theater standpoint. This was a great example of character commitment. Man, these two guys were in character from beginning to end. It never dropped, not once. I mean, I would truly believe all of the stuff they were telling me. Truly. Like as if, this wasn't a television show. Um, but man, their commitment to what they were doing was incredible. And then yeah, that that post credit moment, I literally my note is, technically that is assault. I was like, when you're in the ring, it's different, but you were like in the office when you attacked him, and I was like in 911. I think I was just assaulted. I mean,
By a kendo stick and a picture frame.
exactly. And so I was like, "Ooh, technically that was assault because you were not actually in the ring." So I just thought it was funny. It was just one of those moments. Again, I'm going to pick out those weird moments. So I was just like, "Oh, look, you just assaulted him.
I
You could file charges."
Yeah, I love this match. I was just like, it was different. It was different for Impact because it was pre-taped, but ultimately, I think it served its purpose. We got character developments by everyone involved, but this also sets up a very what looks to be a very interesting match at the 1000th episode of Impact because it's going to be Frankie Kazarian and his actual wife, who is a former Impact Knockouts wrestler, so one of the women's roster. His wife Tracy Brooks, taking on Eddie Edwards and his actual wife, who is currently still on the roster of Impact's Knockouts division, Alicia Edwards. So we're going to get a mixed match. This is what I've been wanting for so long, and I'm happy we're getting it. We're getting a mixed tag team match at the 1000th episode of Impact. And I was like, yes, give me man on man, women on women, mix them together violence. It is so much fun. I'm like, please,
Bring it on.
please let it be a kendo stick match. Please let it be a kendo stick
I
match.
know, right?
Listen, just everybody getting whacked. Listen, I love technical wrestling, but I am also a sick person. I love watching gratuitous violence on my wrestling television screen, and is so good. But this was a fun match. And at this point, I was just like, I'm looking at my phone. I was like, okay, Impact, I'm going to give you so much credit because like even before I saw the matches, I saw what was left. I was like, "Oh, this shit's about to go down. It's about to get good." Like I'm about to. I think I was like bracing myself. I'm like, "Where are the towels? I need multiple cigarettes by the end of this." Like I had to strap in, and boy, am I glad I girded my loins because Lord have mercy, these last three matches were it. Like this is the pinnacle of where I lost my mind. I got yelled at for being too loud in the house and I was okay with it. And it started with this match. So we get in a non-title match because at first it was advertised as an IWGP championship match, but then as the weeks were continued, they're like, oh no, this is just going to be a singles match. It just happens that New Japan's heavyweight champion Sonata is going to wrestle against somebody. And then 2 weeks ago, it's like it's going to be Jake something versus Sonata. Woo, child. Okay, so where do I even start? So the next match on the card is in a singles match. We have Jake something taking on the IWGP heavyweight champion in a singles match, non-title Sonata. Okay, so we preface this at the beginning, so get ready because the bisexuality is coming out. Because listen, Jake something. Let's talk because Child will, when I tell you, like, I've always been a big fan. I've always liked looking at the men's, but Lord have mercy. When Jake something came out, I had to pause and I had to again. I had while I was trying to take notes, I'm looking down. I'm like, not now. I'm trying to take notes. But man, I was like, I was like, I had to pause. I needed a moment. I was I was literally I was losing my absolute cord. I was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna get through this match, but I must for the content. So after I calmed myself down, I pressed play again. So Jake something comes out. And then, of course, I love New Japan's wrestlers because their entrance gear are always so extra, as well as I love the nods that they give. So Sonata comes out and he's dressed in like something similar to legendary Japanese wrestler the Great Muta would wear to the ring. And then I was just like, as soon as these two stepped into the ring, I could not breathe through this whole entire match because I had to go back and watch this again because I had forgot from beginning to end. And when we get to the winner, like I looked down, I was like, oh dang, I forgot to take notes. So now I actually got to go back and take notes. But Will, I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, I loved a lot of these matches, but for me personally, this was my match of the night. Holy hell.
I agree. This was my match of the night.
Yes.
Yeah. This match was just like the most amazing, like homoerotic buffet in the world. And I was telling Mikey off camera, like, I am the big G in the LGBTQIA, and normally I am not really attracted to Asian, but holy God, this man, when he like disrobed, I was just like, "Oh, I need to reevaluate myself." And then, of course, Jake's he's my boobier. So, I mean, oh, God bless America. This was like a wrestle sandwich that I would love to be in the middle of. And I would literally give myself for science for them to just use me as an experiment and throw me around, pin me down, you know, do whatever you, I'd be okay. And I thought this fight was fantastic. This was a very like David and Goliath trope, because it's like Sonata is, and Jake's, a bigger guy, taller guy, and Sonata was super. And it had that sort of David and Goliath feel, like, because I mean Sonata was whooping on him. I mean, Jake was holding his own, but Sonata was whooping on him. And there was even one point where I was like, oh, Jake, he needs me to comfort him. So I was like, yeah, come to me, Jake. Let me comfort you. Like, after not just whooped your ass a couple of times in this match. And there was some great moves going on. Man, that there was a slap fight in there.
I love a good slap fight in wrestling.
I love a good slap fight. They were in the corner, one of the corners, and it was just like, to the point where it got like, and I was like, oh, I was waiting for him to pull hair. But man, they both had some fantastic moves. This was another one that had a lot of close calls in it. And I just watching these two men fight was art. Man, it was art. Sonata, it was so smooth. You could see their different wrestling styles, because Jake is very brutish. He's very, Jake Smash. And Sonata was very much like, I am a leaf on the wind, sort of thing. And it really did. It really was like that. And it was so neat to watch. That even all the way to the end, when we after the winner was when we had our winner. I mean, all the way to that amazing display of respect. Man, I mean, that it was like cherry on top. to this match. I mean, it was God. It was I was I was sad, but it was a damn good fight. It was a
Oh,
damn good fight.
it was so good. And so like some of my favorite moments from this match. So towards the first half of this match, like I wrote it down here. Where was it? Oh, okay. So like in the first half of this match, so Sonata goes up to like the second rope and he does like a moonsault backflip off of the
Yeah,
rope, but then Jake literally catches him and then seamlessly just like like
yeah.
slams Sonata to the ground. But I think the my ultimate move from this match again comes from Jake. So Sonata, like, oh my goodness, this was crazy. So Sonata tries to go for like a head scissors and then like literally gets his legs around Jake, but Jake stops him, picks him up, and then has a sit down power bomb. And I was like, that's my move of the night right there in this match. Like seamless, just catch, picks up, bam. I was like,
That was right towards the end, right?
yeah, towards the end. I was
Yeah,
like,
that's the
yes.
move because he went to that and got the he was going for the pin and didn't get the pin, and then Sonata turned and basically did his thing. But that was the move where I was like, logistically, I was like, that should have been the end of it right
Right.
there. I mean, truly, because that move, and I honestly, I thought it was the end. To be quite honest, I thought there's no way he's gonna come back from that. No way. And
And then,
so I literally in my
yep.
notes I put logistically that should have been the end.
And but that's not enough. So then Sonata cracks Jake with a stiff right hand. Jake tries to pull him in for his finisher, but Sonata just uses his ring awareness to kind of hit his move, the deadfall, for the win. And of course, I was like, okay, Sonata's probably going to win because he is like the main New Japan champion. So you're not going to have him lose. But my God, this match just gave Jake something so much credibility and like his stock just rose for me. And I'm just like, this man just pull. I'm just like blown away. Like I have to revisit my list, but honestly, Will, like depending on how the rest of this year goes, and I said this to you off camera, I actually think this match is going to end up in my top 3 men's matches somewhere for this year because she's Louise. Like, this match it was, like you said, it was art. And this is why I love professional wrestling. Like, the story was just built up over the course of 3 to 4 weeks. These two really don't have much of a connection except that Jake, when he left Impact about a year and a half ago, he went traveling and wrestling around the world in smaller promotions. And he got to live out his dream a little bit by facing a lot of people while he was in New Japan. But he's always said he wanted a match with Sonata. He got it. And man, Jake and Sonata delivered a classic for me. And like I said, Jake's stock rose. And like you said, the respect after this match, too, because you don't usually see this on Western wrestling outside of like Ring of Honor where they shake hands afterwards. But you could tell Sonata's just like, I beat you, but holy crap, it was a
Yeah,
fight.
it was close. And I think
Jeez.
Sonata was very much like, he was like, yeah, I beat you, but you very well could have beat me.
Oh my goodness. Like, once this match was over, Will, I was just like figuratively be like smoking a cigarette. I was sweating. I had like a wet towel. It was just like, I mean, watching all the menses was one thing, but then watching art combined, I was like, holy crap. And and then we didn't have time to breathe because as soon as that match was over, in the semi-main event, we get this 8-man tag team match, which was also chaos as hell, but I loved it. So we have on the good guy side, we have Time Machine, which is the team of Kushida, Chris Sabin, and your Impact World Champion, so the main men's title champion, Alex Shelley, and a returning Josh Alexander, which we'll talk about. Hey Josh, how we doing? I love his wrestling style, but I was like, I love watching the menses, and he's one of the menses that I like looking at. I'm like, hey Josh, how we doing? Taking on the team of Leo Rush, Moose. How we doing, Moose? Brian Myers, and still wrestling to this day and age, Bully Ray. Holy crap. Okay, this match was insane. It was nuts. Because again, this is similar to the women's fatal four way. Like the first half was your typical like 4-on-4, everyone trying to get each other, like one up each other, everyone trying to hurt each other. And then all hell breaks loose. They go fighting. Then it gets more bananas because then the lights go out. PCO is now in the ring. So Frankenstein's monster is out here getting ready to fight Bully Ray. And then towards the end of the match, too, as Bully Ray is getting chased down, like all of a sudden somebody is on the stage and like, who's that? And then we see him like, oh shit, it's Steve Macklin returning from injury. And ultimately he's hot. He goes after Josh. Like chaos. The referees are scrambling to bring back order to this match. And so then things get out of hand to try to get Steve Macklin out of there, which causes the girls are fighting because teammates are fighting. Alex Shelley is yelling at Josh Alexander and tells Alexander, you need to get it together. And then as he turns around, he gets speared by Moose, which allows Bully Ray, Brian Myers, Moose, and Leo Rush to pick up the victory. And I'm like, the girls are fighting.
Yep.
I love me a good misunderstanding, like what the hell is happening? Get in there. We got a match to win type of vibe.
Exactly. Like stop fucking around basically and let's win this. But yeah, this whole
Child.
it
Again,
was everywhere. It was all over the place. It was
all the
good. It was a really
men's
good.
were everywhere. It was so good.
Oh yeah, Josh Alexander. He was yummy. Um, but I mean, it's so funny because I was like writing down who was who, and when I put Bully Ray down, hit in his parentheses, so I would remember who he was. I went, oh, the douchey white dude.
Yep, that's exactly his character.
Oh, such a douchey white dude, and and I can't stand him. Oh my god.
Such a
The
loud
reason I
mouth.
can't stand him is, I mean, it's because I was raised in a small Texas town, and you had that in small Texas
Yep.
towns.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, God, I hate you so much. And so I've been very much like this whole PCO thing. I was like, yeah, PCO needs to come in and like kick his ass. But yeah, it was like chaotic, man. I think this is another one I had to like stop and rewind, stop and rewind.
It was just so much going on, but like in the best way possible.
I loved the triple team on Leo. Kushida is super like he was spry, man. He was just like, "Woo."
I love Kushida, and funny thing because I forgot to mention it when I introduced the teams, but Kushida is currently back at Slammiversary. He won the Ultimate X match, which is basically like the number one contender for the X Division champions. So, and we'll talk a little,
Where's the big X?
yeah, with the big X. So we'll talk about it a little bit because we're reviewing the pay per view instead of the regular episode, but we will review the go home show next week. But we did get confirmation that Leo and Kushida will be fighting at the Victory Road pay per view for that title. And I was just like, oh, this is going to be fun. I'm so excited. This is great.
Yeah, I didn't like Leo.
So
Like
okay, so we talked a bit about this off camera. So like I feel like since Leo has come to Impact Wrestling, he's kind of toned it down a little bit in terms of his character. I've also known that he has won the title, but he hasn't wrestled in the last month or so because he got injured, but like not enough where he's gonna need to be out for a couple months. So it's kind of hard to have him be champion, but also like not strip him of the title because his injury is not that serious, but because he's been recovering and hasn't been there, he's mostly been cutting video packages, and you can't have the wrestlers beat him up too much. But it seems that he's okay now because he got his ass beat to this match, which is deserved so.
you're not kidding. I was like throwing a party when they like triple teamed him.
Literally, Time Machine whooped that trick. It was like, whoop that trick.
Seriously. And I love one of my favorite moments was Shelly that elbow hit to Myers.
Ooh.
God, it hurt me. I was just like, man. I mean, it literally knocked the wind out of me and didn't even happen to me. But I was like, whoa, my God. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure because I was at work at this point when I was watching this. And I was like, I was sitting in my office and I was watching. I was like, yeah, I was doing brother work, and I looked up and he did it, and I went, whoa! I mean, loud. I'm pretty sure they heard me down the hallway. Um, but it was wow. It was the connection, the sound, everything was just whoa. And then of course the Alexander Moose rivalry just feels that whole thing felt so old school. I was loving,
So
loving.
what I loved about that part was because Impact does, I think, does a good job of playing off of like previous history between the roster and the wrestlers and things like that. So to give a little bit of context, so earlier last year, Josh Alexander finally won the Impact World Championship. So this was his first this was the first time him winning this title. So he all got to celebrate with his son and his wife in the ring for all like a good 2 minutes because that same pay-per-view that Josh won the title, Moose won the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, which is basically like a battle royale where the winner gets a championship match anytime, anywhere. So Josh just had this killer match. He got beat up so bad, like it took everything he had to go through it. And then Moosh, being the opportunist, cashes in his call his shot and beats Josh for that title on the same pay per view Josh won it. And so for a couple months, him and Josh were feuding, and Josh kept losing opportunities, and it looked like he wasn't going to get a chance to challenge Moose. And then eventually, Josh was able to beat Moose, get the title back, and that's where Steve Macklin enters the picture because these two have had a feud going back and forth for a long time. An event we were and the match that we were supposed to get a couple months ago was Josh versus Steve for the title, but Josh got injured. He had a torn bicep and he had to be out. So the title became vacated. Steve Macklin ended up winning it, but then shortly after, Steve had to vacate it because he also got injured. Well, he got injured afterwards, but Alex Shelley beat him at the Against All Odds pay per view in June. And so now I don't know who's going to be coming for Alex Shelley's title next, but we have Josh versus Moose if they want to revisit it. But Josh versus Steve is the match I want to see. This is the match that we've been waiting for the longest time. And I am excited for this match. This is going to be good because we're getting those two at Victory Road. And I'm just like, give it to me now. And
Yeah.
and normally I don't like when everybody like a super chaotic finish where like they overbook it where there's like 50 million people in the ring and like all hell breaks loose. But this worked perfectly given the history between all eight of these guys. The teams were turning on each other. You know, Josh and there's a hint of a feud between Josh and Alex because Alex is telling him to get over himself. And then that causes Josh to walk into a spear. This was a chaotic match, but this was a great time and it sets up a lot of fun stuff. But yeah, so Bully Ray, Brian Myers, Leo Rush, and Moose take the win here. So again, after this match, I was just like, this was a lot. And I was just like, okay. I was just like, now I can breathe. No, I was wrong because then in the main event of Emergence, we have the Impact Knockouts World Championship match. Challenger Deonna Purrazzo taking on Trinity, the champion, in a rematch from Slammiversary. But okay, so before this match, because we're talking about women's wrestling, we get a small video package before this match starts, and we see somebody zipping up their jacket. And I loved it because as soon as I saw the muscles, I was like, ooh, I yelled at my screen. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's back. Yes. But, and we talked off camera, but Will's just like, oh, who's this dude zipping up their jacket? And then we get the turnaround and it's like, oh, that's a woman.
And I have never been so intimidated and turned on at the same time.
Me too. I'm like, listen, Jordan Grace is that girl. I want her
That's
to.
saying something because I'm a gay man, and man, I was like, ooh, ooh, oh, please pick
I'm
me
like,
up and
listen,
slam me down.
yes, Jordan Grace, like you may take your thighs and crush me like a
Yeah,
cantaloupe.
crush
And
like a watermelon. Yeah,
seriously,
seriously.
so we get announcement that she's returning to Impact, and she's gonna be at Victory Road pay per view where her debut return is gonna be a match against Deanna of all people. I'm like, I literally cried once that announcement was made, like yesterday. I was like, oh my god, we're gonna get another women's classic, and this is gonna be good. So, but that was before. So now let's get into this. This championship match was everything I wanted, and these girls ended up adding another dimension. Like their match at Slammiversary was fucking phenomenal, and they managed to put on another classic with this one. Oh my god, Will, like I was screaming so much at this television, and this match was the match that I was in contention with of picking as my match of the night. I was just like, Jake and Sonata may have been my match of the night, but this one made it difficult because these two women, oh my god. If you have not seen this match, I need everyone to go out and watch it because these two put on a phenomenal match. And oh my god, Deanna is so fucking good. And Trinity had an answer for everything Deanna was throwing at her. And these girls were not afraid to take risks. And holy hell, Will, like, okay, I need to calm down because, like, ooh, this was everything that I love in women's wrestling. And these girls went out there and they killed it.
Oh my god. Yes, this match. You're right. This match kind of it was getting close to my top. I mean, it was probably my close to first. But Jake and Sonata are my absolute first, and then these these two women. And first of all, let me say, talking about entrances, Tiffany's entrance was amazing. I mean, yeah, I mean, just Trinity. I mean, I'm talking. I don't know why I keep my color Tiffany. Trinity's entrance was epic.
The
It
black
just,
light is so
yeah,
good.
just so cool. And I loved the Canadian flag in her hair. And she's just I think she's very super classy. And then Deanna came in, and I mean her entrance was good, but it wasn't as flashy. But I my very first note on her is like, girl walking in there looking like the Christ in the building because those leggings that she was wearing was like it literally looked like Chrysler Building, and I was like, stand tall, girl. Uh, and the beginning of this match very, very similar actually to the Sonata and Jake match. I feel it felt like the beginning of the match was like them testing each other.
It was more grounded.
Yeah, it was very much like, okay, let's see what we're playing with here. And I really really liked that. And I thought this whole match was slow and steady, and like you could see them like really thinking about what they're about to do next. It wasn't like just I'm just gonna fly off the handle and do something random. It was literally like they were studying each other's weaknesses. And it was so good. That I put a there was like nice pile driver by Parasso. That superplex off the turnbuckle was brutal.
Oh my gosh. So like, okay. Literally. So like I agree with you. So the first bit of the match was like them testing each other. And for me personally, while I was watching it, the moment that I knew, oh, these girls are about to go one for one and they're gonna about to kill it is when Trinity, like, so when Trinity gets thrown to the floor because of, the reverse pile driver, and then she gets back in the ring and puts Deanna in a headlock. Then the moment that Trinity gets Deanna and hits a Samoan drop on her is when everything changed, because then as soon as that Samoa drop hit, Deanna answered it right back with the Fujiwara armbar. And then from there, these girls go at it. So Trinity goes to the ropes for the rope break, and then they start climbing the ropes and fighting the punches, and then that superplex from Deanna, man, it was such a thing of beauty.
It was just like it was
Oof.
probably my move of their match. I was just like, whoa, holy crap, holy crap.
Yes. I was just like, oh my gosh, yes, give it to Deanna has been Deanna continues to be one of my top females. You know, she had her repertoire of wrestling is amazing. Like she studies her opponents and she has like an answer for a lot of things that people throw at her, but that superplex is a thing of beauty. And then once again, the girls trade punches with each other. That full Nelson pop from Trinity was that, oh my gosh, I screamed at my computer
Yep.
screen. I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, "Yes." And then like I even yelled harder because then Deanna successfully blocks. So Trinity hits a front flip DDT. So the full Nelson power bomb, Deanna like blocks it successfully, which forces Trinity to go into that front flip DDT for a near fall of 2. Then Trinity hits Deanna with the code red, and then this is something new that for Trinity, like this starfish esque kind of submission move that she has around like Deanna to make Deanna tap out was, oh my goodness. That submission move was one of my favorite things because I've never seen anything like it before. But ultimately, because she made Deanna tap, still your Impact's knockout world champion is Trinity. Oh my gosh. Like, oof. I was done. I was just like, I went through multiple cartons of cigarettes. Like I had like 15 towels. Like I felt like I lost 20 pounds just from all the exertion of just wrestling being thrown in my face.
Yeah, yeah. Oof. You know, in that Trinity Deanna fight, there was a moment, and this is me finding these weird little moments. There was a moment, and I want to say Trinity had Deanna pinned, and the ref was counting, and it was like one, two, and then the ref paused, and then Deanna kicked off, and I was like, that technically should have been a 3 count right there. So it was just like a technical moment, and it was probably it was we all know what wrestling is, but it was like should have been a 3 count. It should have been a 3 count right there, because that was a little early on. That was a little early before the ending. It was like it was close to the end, but not the end. But that was just like oh ref, you literally was like one two kickoff, and it was like okay, all right. I mean, okay. I'll look past it, but I'm going to make a note. Um, and then of course the handshake at the end was nice. Even though Deanna was so funny when she was all like they shook hands, and then Tiffany was all like, or Trinity was all like,
Like Trinity being the bubbly face, and Deanna's like, girl, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Like, you celebrate. I'm out of here.
yeah, I was like, oh, okay, okay, okay.
I was like, calm down. It's fine. But Trinity, I'm so happy for Trinity to
Yeah,
go from, again, we talked about this off camera, but to go from walking out on WWE to take a stand because the women's tag team division was not being treated correctly, and she was champion at that time with Sasha Banks, and the two of them walked out of the company and eventually were like quit essentially, and because they wanted to stand up for women's wrestling, and then everybody was saying that it was a big mistake on their part and that they weren't going to make it big outside of WWE. And now both of them are thriving. Sasha Banks, who is now going by her new ring name Mercedes Monet, is having killer matches in Japan. Trinity went to Impact and now she's a singles champion, which can't be said because she didn't even get close to the amount of like love and support and success that we're seeing her now. So I love a good story. So technically, this was the end of the pay per view, but then we get a short little video package, and then we get more information earlier this week that Impact just stays busy because they announced that the next pay per view, well, first we get word that Will Ospreay is going to be at the Bound for Glory pay-per-view in October, and I looked down I was like, not now. I'm trying to watch television. Like, listen, you have Will Ospreay is a phenomenal wrestler, and I'm like, I went to balls to the wall nuts trying to figure out who his opponent could be for Bound for Glory. And then later in the week, we get confirmation that will also be at the Turning Point pay per view in November for Impact Wrestling. So I get this British man Ziz that I love so much in terms of wrestling to be on Impact. I listen, I'm so happy that you came on to Impact when you did, because you're about to get to witness some of the reasons why I will die on the hill that Impact is so great, even though the rest of the Biconics boys do not like make fun of me for it. Obviously, it's all in good fun. Like, they actually dig Impact, but I before you came along, I was the only one to cover it. But again, Will Ospreay will be at Bound for Glory, and then earlier this week, we got confirmation the next pay per view after Bound for Glory is Turning Point, and Will also be there. Listen, if Impact was able to sign Will Ospreay, I would lose my absolute gourd. But we'll see what happens. But oh my goodness, Emergence was such a great pay per view, and I was,
It was.
man, despite Kenny King and Johnny Swinger kind of being like the down moment of the whole pay per view. Outside of that, every match was phenomenal. But those last three, man, those last three matches
Yeah.
alone are worth watching.
Mm-hmm.
So now we come to we have two parts left. We will take care of the ratings. So, okay, this one's tough because I got to be objective, but I'm also being a fan here. But I think my final rating after going back and forth, I'm going to give Emergence a solid 8.5 for me. Only because, again, Impact always kills it with the pay-per-views. Like, even the matches that aren't necessarily great, it's not inherently bad, but man, the pre-show matches, like, it really helped the score. Like, the fatal four-way for the women's tag titles was amazingly chaotic, but the last three matches with Sonata and Jake, the 8-man tag, and then Trinity versus Deanna really boosted the score up. I ding points because we kind of talked about it in our text thread, like, because the production does still have issues from time to time, and so that's always a downgrade. And then Johnny versus Kenny King was not really a match that we needed. Honestly, you could have put that match on the weekly show instead of a pay-per-view, but even that was not horrible. But I give Emergence a solid 8.5.
Um, you know, yeah, this whole pay-per-view event was pretty exciting. And like we had talked previously, and you've mentioned it as well. A lot of the technical value was a little low, but now we know that the parent company is going to start dumping money in, which is fantastic. Because I think the very first thing I said to Mikey was, "God, it's dark." The whole was really dark. It wasn't a lot of lighting, and it felt like they didn't pay the electric bill or something. I don't know. Uh, and then, of course, I think it like flowed really nicely. It's in the middle. And again, not that the Kings wasn't just to it and everything after it. So I am going to actually give this a solid, because I thought pay-per-view a really nice energy through it. After I finished and was kind of milling it over, I was Swinger fight out of the mix, and I was looking at the event itself. It had this really good energy. I mean, yeah, that one kind of brought me, but man, the one right after picked right. So it did take time for me which is good. So again, those last three fights were just off the hook. I would get a solid 9. Once the 10, as long as they keep doing what they did in this one, because this formula pretty much would be to not put that two dimension in there. Put that in a weekly event and replace. And I would have put one of those show events there. It would have easily kept the energy flowing easily. So yeah, I'd give it a 9. It was a really good event. I thought it was really, really good. I know I wasn't sure if I was going to. Um, because one, and the other thing I'll tell you also is because this pay per view event did not feel that. At least I don't think it did. I mean, I watched it in 3 different sittings, but that's because time. But when I was watching it, I didn't think it didn't feel that long at all. It was like what 3.5 hours, I think.
Yeah, just a little bit about.
23 minutes. It didn't. Yeah, so yeah, it didn't feel that long at all. So that's all. Solid 9.
Yeah. Oh, this was a lot of fun. This was a good pay-per-view. And, I'm excited because, I will say that sometimes Impact runs into the problem because like Emergence originally aired this past Sunday, the same day as All In, and then next week is their next pay per view of Victory Road. So that's sometimes Impact finds itself where we have like a week to breathe, like we only have a week to breathe to the next pay per view. But I'm excited for this. But that is going to be it. Well, actually, before we go, oh no, my co host is breaking up. Will, don't leave me. No. Oh boy. Well, while we get this all situated, I will start off. So, just like in our NXT reviews, we have the hotness corner. So, oh boy. No. So, wow, you're cutting you're cutting in and out. No. All right, we're going to keep this going. We're going to keep this going until it fixes itself. But here with me and Will, we always, like in NXT, we're going to have the Impact Emergence Hotness Corner. And so the Hotness Corner is where we pick our male and female superstars for whatever reason that were just phenomenal and amazing and awesome. And I am going to start off my hotness corner for a variety of reasons. For the men, it goes to Jake something because reasons. Um, Outside of the looks, the match with him and Sonata were great. And of course, I'm biased here, but my women's hotness goes to Trinity because I love the story and her being champion just makes sense in my head. So hopefully, we're back. You're muted, but you're back.
Okay, I'm back. My Discord freaked out on me. I was like, "What is happening right now?" Anyway, sorry. What
It's
did I
good.
miss?
So I started the hotness corner, and so I did my stuff. So yep, the hot.
It's got a new name. The Hotness Corner has a new name. I've decided.
Okay, what is it?
It's gonna be it's gonna be Will's Deep Impact.
Oh, I love it. So I gave my picks for the deep impact zone. So my choice for women's is Trinity, and of course my men's pick is obviously Jake. Duh.
Okay, my Deep Impact choices are basically the same ones as Jake and Trinity. They were absolute. Trinity is just like the whole package. I mean, she is beautiful. She's talented. She's fun. It seems like she would be super fun to go like out on the town with. Like she would be. I think she would be like know like the really cool spots to take you, and like get her and a bunch of her, us and a couple of other folks in a limousine going down like the strip. I think it'd be a blast. Now, Jake something, and it is the absolute basest thing. Animalistic, absolutely. He is just. I would like to lick him. After a match, before a match, I really don't care. He is gorgeous. He is. I like, not that this is necessary for everybody, but I like his manliness. Yeah, I'm a sucker for a man's man. Um, and he is that. He is like primal and just like I feel like he would be like a dom in that situation, and I would be absolutely, absolutely his son. Absolutely. Yeah. You want me to lick your boot? Okay, I'll do it. I mean, seriously. As long as I get to like lay next to that at night, I'd be like, I'll do whatever you want me to do. So yeah, so Jake something is my deep impact for the males, and of course, Trinity is the lovely Trinity is my deep impact pick for the ladies. So it was a good match. God, it was such a good event.
This was such a good event, and I'm excited because now you are joining me for Impact. And so, Table for Two, Electric Boogaloo has unfortunately come to a close. And as sad as it is, don't fret, my friends, because we will be back next week with another review. And funny enough, it is the go home show for Impact Wrestling before we have Victory Road later in the week. And I'm super super excited. But if you like to Table for Two, you should also check out the other crews that we have on the Biconics YouTube page, where we pretty much recover everything and anything, from the weekly TV shows to the pay-per-views for all these amazing companies. It's crazy out here. You can follow us at BC WrestlePod across the social medias. You can also follow us separately on social media if you like. You can follow me at The Pop Culture Geek. You can follow my co-host here at Will Walker.
Halfling Wizard, that's my D&D thing, but
Yeah.
I'm shifting a lot of stuff, but you can find me under Will Walker under my social medias.
Yeah. And then, of course, if you want to hear more shenanigans, you can check us out at the Biconics Wrestling Podcast, where if you think the reviews are crazy, you should hear the podcast because that's unhinged. Like, we talk about anything and everything that is not TV show review related. We literally fight over the dumbest things. Like, we're about to record an episode fighting about which was the best pay-per-view theme song for WWE so far this year. And literally, it's about to go down, and I'm so excited. But Will, your foray into Impact was so much fun, and I'm happy that you are here to be a part of the ride.
Yes. So before we go, can I get a yeah? What, Joe? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Can I get a joy? And I think on that note, until the next Table for Two review, this is Mikey and Will signing off. Remember to take care of yourself, love one another, and until the next review, adios, sayonara, and like we said, can I get a joy?